Rose came down bad on his left foot. See him holding onto his knee, and down.
The NBA is littered with guys whose careers ended too soon or were dramatically altered because of brutal injuries. As a Bulls fan, this video hits close to home, so let's start with Derrick Rose. During the 2011-2012 season, Rose struggled with injuries that ultimately led to him tearing his ACL in the 2012 playoffs. After over a year of rehab, when he returned to the court in November of 2013, he tore the meniscus in his other knee, which kept him out for the next year and a half. At the end of the day, multiple knee injuries zapped Rose of the explosiveness that made him the youngest ever league MVP and one of the most electrifying players our league's ever seen. Brandon Roy was an All-American and the Pac-10 Player of the Year in 2006 as a member of the Washington Huskies. He was taken 6th overall in the NBA draft that year. As a member of the Portland Trailblazers, he was a 3-time All-Star, highlighted by being named All-NBA Second Team in 2009 and All-NBA Second Team in 2010. Soon after, Roy's career began to slow down due to knee injuries. Tests in 2010 showed that a lack of cartilage in his knees was giving him trouble. He would go under the knife twice within a 9-month period, and it would become apparent that his issues were likely only getting worse. By the fall of 2011, Roy's knees had lost cartilage between the bones of both knees, and he decided it was best to retire from the game. Here's a direct quote from Brandon Roy after he retired. "The more I would try to prepare to have this big comeback year, the worse my knees would continue to feel. As we approached training camp, there was clicking in there. There was something in there really bothering me. I was starting to feel like I would have to have another surgery just to help me get by day to day."
Set up on defense.
Scola gives Brooks the pick. Oh, Greg went down and his knee is...
Greg Oden, the #1 overall pick in the 2007 NBA draft by the Portland Trailblazers. Oden, of course, was drafted ahead of Kevin Durant. Just about 3 months after being drafted, Oden had microfracture surgery on his knee, which led to him missing his entire rookie season. In his first NBA game the following year, he suffered a foot injury that forced him to miss 2 more months. 1 year later, Oden fractured the patella in his left knee and missed pretty much the entire 2009-2010 season. On top of that, he had then had microfracture surgery again on that knee, ending his 2010-2011 season. Oden will go down as maybe the biggest bust in NBA history. Yao Ming at 7'6", Yao Ming was a game-changing center from China that was supposed to change the way the game was viewed. While the former #1 overall pick played just over 6 seasons in the NBA, his incredible height led to tons of injury issues pertaining to his feet. He missed over 250 games in his shortened NBA career. Sean Livingston came into the NBA as the highest drafted high school player in 2004, but in 2007, the 21-year-old tore his ACL, PCL, MCL, lateral meniscus, and dislocated both kneecaps. Livingston had to learn to walk again through a grueling rehab. He missed the entire 2007-2008 season. After 16 months, he resumed basketball activities. After 20 months, he was back on the court again as a member of the Miami Heat. He eventually wound up on the Golden State Warriors and became a 3-time NBA champion. Sean Livingston's story is one of the most inspirational in the history of the NBA. Penny Hardaway and Shaquille O'Neal and the young Orlando Magic of the mid-1990s had the league on notice. The sky was the limit with Penny at the time, who was considered one of the most gifted NBA athletes ever. Sadly, Hardaway had a brutal string of knee, foot, and ankle injuries that plagued him during his remaining days with the Magic, eventually leading him to being traded to the Phoenix Suns. He then was forced to retire due to a knee condition that would not respond to all his rehab efforts. The Orlando Magic signed Grant Hill to a $92 million contract just weeks after he broke his ankle in the playoffs with the Detroit Pistons. Hill was supposed to dominate alongside Tracy McGrady. Unfortunately, Hill played in only 57 games for the Magic over the next 4 years because that ankle injury led to a multitude of other injuries for Hill during the following years with the Magic.
Comes in for the first time. Then Stoudemire. Did he come down wrong? He did. He came down wrong.
Amari Stoudemire signed a maximum contract deal with the New York Knicks following the 2010 season, rejoining head coach Mike D'Antoni. Rumors have swirled around that D'Antoni overused Stoudemire during his first 2 seasons in New York, and this led to Stoudemire's knee injuries. He missed 88 games over the next 2 seasons in New York. After the knee injuries, he was never the same player athletically. Chris Bosh, the 3rd member of the Miami Heat's Big Three. Remember, Bosh almost signed a maximum deal with the Houston Rockets in 2014, but elected to stay in Miami. Just months later, Bosh was sent to a Miami hospital for lung tests where they found a blood clot on one of his lungs. He was able to briefly return to basketball before doctors found yet another blood clot, this time in his leg. Eventually, the potential dangers of the medical condition were just too great, and Bosh was forced to retire from the NBA in March of 2019.
66, Oklahoma City.
Andre Robertson, it's been over 2 years since Robertson's left knee buckled in Detroit. One surgery to repair a ruptured patellar tendon led to more procedures and even more setbacks. The Thunder's lockdown defender was an essential piece to Oklahoma City's success. Robertson has traveled with the team as of recent, but still has yet to practice with them. Hopefully, he can make his return to the court soon in the near future. Bill Walton was one of the most skilled big men in the history of the NBA, but Walton's talent was severely diminished thanks to a ruthless amount of foot injuries, which eventually led to other body parts shutting down and needing surgeries of their own. People forget that Walton underwent nearly 40 orthopedic procedures in his life. I can't even imagine. Larry Bird is one of the greatest players to ever play the game of basketball, but he was robbed the last couple years of his prime due to back problems that had built up over the years. After enduring agonizing pain through the late 80s and 90s, Bird laced up his sneakers one more time as a member of the U.S. men's basketball team for the 1992 Summer Olympics and retired for good shortly after winning gold with the legendary Dream Team.